And so today's is all about price lists. I'll flip the agenda here. We're going to talk about the basics of price lists, first of all, and then move on to special prices, how they're set up, how they're applied. Okay. And then talk about some sort of a few scenarios that you guys might want to cover and how you might be able to handle those using the price list features that Business One provides. At the end, I'll show you how to import price lists using something called the Data Transfer Workbench. And then if there's time, I can talk a bit about how to sort of more make your workspace a little more efficient in Business One. Maybe there's some features there that you're not aware of that you can take advantage of. So let's get right to it. I'll start with basic price lists, and we'll talk about how those work. You're probably fairly familiar with them, but there might be some things that perhaps you don't know. This is the basic price list is the sort of foundation of the rest of it, so it's important to understand that fully. So I'm going to start here. I have a few little icons representing price lists. Ordinarily, you would set up a base price list, and if you're a distributor, typically you'd set up your base price list with your costs in it. You may vary a little bit from that, but in my examples, we'll assume that's true. And then you typically you'll set up what I call derivative price lists, which are price lists based on other price lists. So in this case, I've got example A and B, where price list A is 1.5 times the base, and price list B is 2 times the base. So think of that as sort of your A-level customers and your B-level customers. You can also, you don't have to derive price lists all from the same base list. You can also create ones based on other ones, so you're sort of chaining your price lists. In this case, price list C will be 1.2 times price list B. If you do it this way, it might be a little harder to manage. It might be a good way to think of it. You can think, well, my C-level customers, I want them to be 20% higher than my B-level customers, and that's fine. You may want to think about, though, for easier management, perhaps instead of using C price list 1.2 times B, instead making it 2.4 times the base. And that's just so that if you're doing manual calculations, trying to figure out what the price of something in price list C should be, you don't have to go, well, it's times 2 and then it's times 1.2. It's easier if you just go, it's times 2.4. Business One has no problem with it, but that would be my recommendation unless you've got some good reasons to go that way. Okay, so let's suppose we have a base price list with 4 items in it, priced as $5 through $20, as you see here. Then price list B is going to work out this way because it's 2 times. Price list B is $10, $20, $30, $40 for the same items. You can explicitly override the price of a particular item in the price list. And in this case, I'm going to override it with $50. Ordinarily be $40, but I'm overriding it with $50. Now, something to note, just keep it in your head for the next slide. On price list C in this case, since price list C is 1.2 times B, the price of item 4 should be $60 rather than 1.2 times 40. So I'll move on to the next slide. So the advantage of doing things this way in terms of setting one price list as a multiple of another is that when you change one price list, all of the other subsequent ones, the derivative price list, change as well. It makes price list maintenance easy. So suppose if your base prices go up by $2, which would be your cost. If your costs go up by $2, you want to update your base price list. So to 7, 12, 17, 22 respectively, remembering that price list B is 2 times the base, the prices in price list B will change accordingly, 14, 24, 34. Now, think fast, what is the cost of item 4 going to be? It's not going to be 2 times 22. It's going to stay at 50. Because any price you override stays overridden. Business One doesn't touch it after that. It keeps what you have there until you explicitly decide not to override it or you change it manually yourself. So if we copy price list B down to the bottom frame here, that is officially the B price list now. What's C going to turn out to be? Well, C is 1.2 times B price list, which works out this way: 1680, 2880, 4080. And the item 4 stays at 60, simply because you've overridden the calculated price on the B list. So my point is, make a note that if you override a price on one list, all subsequent lists, it's essentially overridden as well. And the price on those subsequent lists aren't going to change. So we're going to move on to some scenarios, some sort of more complex situations. How do you handle them? So I came up with a few example scenarios, things you may want to do. Here they are. For example, perhaps you're overstocked on a particular item and you'd like to reduce your quantity on hand by reducing the price across the board. So I don't care who the purchaser is, I'm going to sell this product to them for X dollars, and because I just want to get rid of it. Another example might be you want prices on prices to be based plus 10%, but something should be a little more than that, always. Another example might be you want to incent larger volume purchases by creating price breaks. Business One has nice support for that. And last one's not really a scenario. It's sort of something you might run into. There's something wrong with this price. Where on earth is this coming from? So in order to figure that out, you kind of need to understand how Business One determines prices. So Business One has a hierarchy for price selection. Any price it tries to calculate will go through this. It will go through this sequence in order to figure out what is the correct price to put on your sales order, whatever. And by the way, price lists apply to both vendors and to customers. I'm just trying to keep it simple by keeping it for a customer. In this case, we're a distributor and dealing with sales price lists. They work the same for vendors. So this top item here is what we just talked about. This is your base price list. These are pretty simple. I'm sure everyone knows how to use them. And then we have 1, 2, 3 additional levels that Business One goes through. So first of all, it will choose the price from the price list applicable to the business partner. And then it will move on and it'll go, well, are there any period and volume discounts applicable? Yes or no? If so, it calculates them. Are there any discount groups applicable? Are there any special prices for business partners applicable? And in 882, there is something called blanket agreements, which I talked about a couple of months ago, and those would be considered to be an extra level right in here, sort of the last thing to be considered. And essentially what you want to understand is that as Business One goes through these levels and calculating these prices, each new price it determines overrides the previous one. So any price determined at the price list level gets overridden here. Whoops, let me go back. It's overridden here, and then gets overridden here, and then gets overridden here. So the net effect of that, and they're all calculated independently, the net effect of that is that someone may get a smoking deal on something at this level, but if it's overridden here, it doesn't matter. It's going to take this price. This price may be higher, but they're not going to get the low price. So that's something really important to understand about this. So I'm going to go through each of these. We've already talked about the first level here. I'm going to go through the others. Essentially, you can think of them in terms of, I've got this arrow over here, least specific to most specific pricing. So the least specific pricing would be pricing for a price list. It's not for a particular vendor or a particular, customer. As you move to customers or business partners, those are more specific than a general price list. So those take precedence. So always a business partner price list or a business partner special price will take priority over special prices or prices defined for a price list. Does that make sense? Okay. If there's one thing you need to take away from this webinar, it's this particular screen here, understanding that there are these multiple levels and that they are assessed individually, and lower ones down override higher ones up. Okay. So price list selection, I call this the price selection hierarchy. It always starts with the business price, the price list for the business partner. Just talked about those. So on every business partner, on the payment terms tab, I believe it is, you select what price list applies to them. That's the first thing Business One looks at. And you can see that here. Obviously, price lists, all the price list control screens are located under the inventory tab under price lists. Here I've created some special ones. I'll show you these live when we get there. But price list A, B, C, D, which are set up as I had indicated, 1.5, 2 times base. Here is an actual price list, which is price list B, and we can see the parameter technology is set up for price list B. This is where you do it, payment terms tab. So moving on, period and volume discounts. There are actually 2 places where you can do period and volume discounts. So the one is at a lower level, and it applies to specific business partners. At this level, it is for a price list, which is why I put the for a price list parenthesis. Now, that means this applies to any business partner using that price list. And I have this broken down a little bit to three little screens here. Because, in fact, you can launch period and volume discounts and you get one screen, but then you can drill down on a particular row and get a period discount and drill down on a particular row and get a volume discount. So period and volume discounts are located here, and you have to specify your particular price list that you want to create these discounts for. And if I were to double-click on on one of these rows, up pops the period discount for that row. In this case, it could be either one of these because it says 570. And then if you double click on that row, you get the volume discounts for that particular row. And so a thing to note here is, again, just like on the hierarchy overall, the price here gets overridden by the price here, gets overridden by the price here, which is why I kind of drew the diagram the way I did with the arrows pointing down. This is all part of period and volume discounts. Again, this gets overridden by this, gets overridden by this. And you specify the period that your discounts are valid, and of course these will only apply in this period. In this case, there is no valid until, therefore it's applicable infinitum. Okay. Next level is discount groups. So this will override the period and volume discounts. Discount groups has a few different tabs to it. This is actually, I've got 3 different shots, but this is actually 3, just the tabs. So this is the item groups tab, this is the properties tab, this is the manufacturer tab. And you set up discount groups for a particular customer or vendor if you're dealing with vendors. And you can choose for this particular vendor to use the item group tab or the properties tab or the manufacturer tab. You can't use a combination. If you set values on this tab, for example, and then you go to set values on this tab, you go to update, it'll tell you this will essentially wipe out what you've done here. So you have to choose which it is you want to do. Nowhere in the system, nowhere in this pricing selection hierarchy can you combine discounts. Discounts at a lower level override ones at a higher level. That's simply how it works. Except here on the Properties tab, and I'll show you this live, but here you can specify if you specify more than one discount at a level, you get to choose here if more than one applies, how do you want to deal with it? You can say I want to average the discounts listed, I want to take the biggest one, the smallest one, things like that. All right. Moving on, we've got now at the lowest level, at least pre-882, we have special prices for business partners. And again, we've got, it's actually 3 screens, and again, this one will override this one, will override that one. So these are, again, for specific business partners. Here's where you find it under the price list, special prices for business partners. And here's where it works very similar to the volume discount for Pricelists, but this is for a particular vendor. So double click on one of these rows, you get the period discounts. Double click on that, you get the quantity breaks. So this is the selection hierarchy in full. Does anyone have any questions so far? So Business One gives you, it gives you all of these levels that you can choose to use. It would be I think it would be really hard to use all of them. Essentially, I think what you want to do is choose a couple or a few that kind of work for you, for the kinds of pricing you want to do, and come up with sort of standard ways to handle those particular scenarios that you like to deal with. But yeah, anything at period and volume will get overridden by discount group. Period. So okay, moving on. So I've kind of spoken to this already, but as I said, discounts do not accumulate. One overrides another. There are no cumulative discounts, with the one exception that I pointed out, which is in discount groups in the properties tab. A more specific price always trumps a less specific one, even if the customer will get a worse deal. And sort of a refinement of that, a business partner price always trumps a priceless price. Okay. So I haven't spoken specifically to how to resolve those scenarios yet because I wanted to talk about the hierarchy because it's important to understand that. But we're at a point now where I can talk to those things. So the first scenario was you're overstocked on a particular item and would like to reduce your quantity in hand by reducing the price across the board. Okay. So the way, I'm going to flip to B1 here, the way you would handle that is going to depend on, I'll just bring up the hierarchy. I've got this little screenshot that would be handy to have. It's going to depend on what you already have for your existing sort of price structure. So this is the case where you just kind of want to get rid of some stock, or I don't care, I don't make much of a margin on it, so I don't care who's buying it. I'm selling it to them for this price. So if all you're using is your basic price list, then the simplest thing, or the most intuitive perhaps, is to go in and override your prices on each of your price lists where you feel where you want to do that. But of course, if you have anything set up farther down, it'll get overridden. So if you're not using anything further down, that's a fine approach. If, however, you do have things set up farther down, then that's probably not the best place. You can do it in period and volume discounts. That if you want it for a particular, you want it to apply to all customers who use a particular price list, or if you want to set up for all price lists, you can do that. And so I could show you that. Now, actually, let's step back a second. Even if all you do use is price lists, you still might want to consider using the period and volume discount to set a specific price for an item. And the reason I say that is because if you do it there, then you can specify a period. So you can say, I only want this effective until, for a month, and after that I want to go back to my regular pricing. If you don't do that, then you have to remember. So it's kind of your choice. So you would know how to set in your price list, but for period and volume discounts, you would simply go to your price list, say price list A, and I'm going to choose something that I know isn't a big deal here, not that I haven't set up. I'm going to choose this hub, and now, as I was saying, it's not clear when you're looking at this. Where do I go from here? What you do is you double click on the number, and it pops up. So at this point, I can set whatever discount I like. 20%. Calculates the price after discount. Now in this case, I want to make sure that I'm not setting this forever. So I'll set it for May 25th. Update, and that will only apply to people using price list A until May 28th. I'm going to click update. If I want to give volume discounts, again, double click here, and I can say, well, if they're going to buy 5, I'll give them a 25% discount instead of a 20. Notice that when I did that, you see how it says Pricelist A and it says 20%. When I double click, that becomes the default. It's 20%. And so it fills that in automatically for you. And then if I choose a volume, I can choose to increase or decrease that. So I don't know, yeah, you probably wouldn't want to decrease your discount, but supposing I did, suppose I went 15, maybe accidentally or whatever. This, and they bought more than 5, they would get the 15% discount. They wouldn't get the 20, right? So this is what I'm saying about even within this sequence here, this gets overridden by this, gets overridden by this. So something to be aware of. Okay. And now, so this is for only Pricelist A. Now, if I choose to update that, now there is this copy discounts, which is a useful feature. So, for example, if I'm adding a whole bunch of items that I want my price changed for, add a bunch. All I need to do is choose one of them, and if I want to apply the same criteria across all of them, I choose one of them, do my thing, like, okay, I want them all discounted 20%, and then I copy. Okay, and if I say copy, and this is referring to the screen here, all items displayed in the period and volume discount window. This is the period and volume discount window. So if I want to, I can take what I've done here, click OK, and it will apply this exact period discount to all of them. Right? Or I can choose this one, which is useful if I have already a couple here, and I don't want to override those, but I want it to apply to all the new ones. Right? So I've added 5 more. Then I can choose this, and it'll only apply to those 5. So as I was saying, how you do the, where were we? This one. How you want to handle your, setting a particular price on an item is going to depend on what you already have set up and sort of what you're comfortable with. You can do it overriding on the price list level. You can do it with period and volume discounts. You'd, of course, if you want the price to be the same for everybody, you'd have to copy that to the other price list as well. Now, but you have to be aware that, well, if I've got something in discount group, it's going to get overridden. If I have something special price with business partner, it's going to be overridden. So if you're using a combination of these, your only foolproof method for making sure, well, I shouldn't say your only one, but within this structure, the only foolproof way to make sure that everyone gets that price is doing the special prices for business partner, because that's going to override anything else. So, and that's located here. So if I go special prices for business partner, let's choose Norm Thompson. I've got a few things set up for him for other purposes. But now, so what I can do, percent discount, yeah. So let me pick something. Okay, I'll pick this server. I don't have to set a discount. I can set a fixed price. Okay, that's something to know. And that way I can say, well, I just want it to be that much for everyone, or for Norm. I want it to be $3,000 for Norm. I don't care what the discount is. I don't care anything. It calculates the discount pretty automatically. Now, of course, our goal here is to have this in effect for everybody. And all we've done is for Norm by update. So the way you can manage that is you can copy any or all of these to your other customers. So if I cycle through all of my special prices for business partners, you'll see all I got is Norm here, right? See, we're running short on time already. So what I can do is I can copy these discounts, and I can copy them. I only want the S1000. Oh, sorry, that's my business partner. Okay, I'm going to copy them to just my customers. Okay, I'm going to make sure I don't get into the vendors. I'm going to click OK. Now, oh crap, they do. Oh, I'm using the wrong area. Okay, sorry. What I meant to do is, once you have something set up, you can go to copy special prices. That's what I want to do. What I want to do is copy them from Norm Thompson. Okay, and I want to copy them to all of my customers. And I'm really only interested in, you can get as detailed as you like, really only interested in that one, that price I want copied across. So you, I haven't mentioned them yet, but you do have these special screens that let you manage your price lists sort of on a bulk basis, and this is one of them. So this should copy for Norm Thompson my S10,000 item to only my customers. Click OK. Yes. Successfully. Now, okay. Now all of my customers have that deal. Cycling through all my customers, and you'll see that no vendors come up. It'll come back to Norm Thompson before I get the vendors. Okay. So this method will let you override absolutely for all your customers and say, no, I'm selling this for this particular price, I just want to get rid of it, or I don't make much of a margin, it needs to be this price. Now, the thing to be aware of here, though, is any new business partners you create, any new customers, will not get this. So this applies, I've just copied it to all of my existing business partners. If I had a new one, it doesn't automatically go on there. You can think of sort of, yeah, these are special prices for business partners. So if you create a new business partner, you have to explicitly copy whatever you like to them. Something to be aware of. So something I would recommend is sort of having a standardized, certainly documented method of creating new business partners. And I would add to the list, okay, make sure you copy these items over, or you might even create, say, a template or a bogus customer and have in there the particular items that you want to apply to all of your customers, and then just periodically, so you keep that one up to date, and periodically, use one of the copy tools to push that to all of the others. Yeah. And you can do your price breaks as well. And now, I don't believe if I do this here, actually, I'm actually pretty certain this probably replace item prices. Oh, copy to select. Interesting. Let's try this. Let me go. Looks like it did. Okay, good. Okay, so, sorry, I wasn't aware of that. So Business One looks like it was aware that previously we had copied the Noam Thompson item over, and when I went when I changed this to be valid just for a particular period, and you could do blind discounts as well. When I went to save it, it recognized that and it asked me, "Do you want to copy this over to your others?" And when I went here to parameter, which is the next one, and I looked, sure enough, I've got that in there. Okay, the one last thing that I would say about that, there is one other way that I thought of that you could do your special pricing, like if you needed something to override everything, is you can have a special table. You probably want a consultant to help you with this, but special table where you put in, here's my item number, S10,000, and I want the price to be 3,000. I don't care who it is or what. And you can have sort of a formatted search that runs on your sales order or your quotations that checks that table and just plunks that price in, no matter what. So that's another way you could do it. It might be easier to manage. All right. So we're now 9 minutes after the hour. Next scenario. You want to make most prices on a derived price list base plus 10, but some things should be base plus 20. Okay. in order to address this one, so we're talking about price lists, I'm not talking about particular business partners, just on a price list, I want things set up this way. If we look at our hierarchy, and we're talking about a derived price list as well, so you can't really do it at this level because that's going to take whatever's on the base, unless you want to adjust your base prices so that derived price lists calculate to the number you want. It's a little tricky. The way you can do it, though, is on period and volume discounts, and that would override your price list. So for example, I have my price list A is 1.5 times price list B. My unit price for this item is $600. I can go to my period and volume discounts, and I can say, okay, on price list A, let's choose a different item. Price list A, I want, let's go with, well, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember some special things I've got set up. I'll use this one, the WLAN. So I want the WLAN. And so what I'm trying to do here is make the price a bit more. To make it a little less, you could say, oh, 10%. To make it more, you can actually say negative, give it a negative discount. That works. And if I tab over, you can see now it's $99 where the base price was $90. And you can say it's, well, in this case, all I want is I want my price list. I want my price list for most things to be, say, times 1.5. But I want this to be a bit more than that, whatever that calculation turns out to be. I can make it higher by using a negative discount. Update, and then I can, let's go. Then you can, I don't want to do that. You can simply do this with multiple price lists if you want. So this is how you could have price list A, but anyone using price list A, the period and volume discount will always apply for this particular item. I'm not sure if I've explained that very well, but is that making sense? So my LAN card normally is $90, but anytime anyone uses a price list, because I've got period and volume discount set up, it's going to add 10% to come out with $99. So even though the LAN card calculates as 90 from the base, it's always going to come out as 99. Okay. So that's how I would address that one. Third scenario, you want to incent larger volume purchases by creating price breaks. Well, I've kind of already covered that. You can do that in two different places. I'll just use this as an easy one. So volume discounts, period discounts can be done for a price list, which would mean they would apply to every business partner using that price list, or you can do it for a particular business partner. And if you do it for a particular business partner, you can copy it to other business partners. Fair enough. Now, the last scenario I have listed is, this price doesn't make sense. Where's it coming from? Well, if you don't understand the hierarchy, you might have trouble with that. And so that's why I said, if you get anything out of this, it's to know that this exists and this is the order that things get processed in. Once you know that, you'll be able to find funky things. So let's have an example. So if I am creating a sales order, Norm Thompson, and he wants to buy something set up. So the motherboard P4 Turbo. And the price has come out as $720. Well, that's not right. That should be $510 or something like that. That's what's going on. Okay, well, if you understand the hierarchy, you can go through and start figuring it out. So let's make sure we get the right price list. Norm's price list is price list A. Okay. What does price list A say for price? P4, where'd it go? There it is. It'd be $600. Okay. Now I know that the next thing is period and volume discounts. Let's take a look at that. price list A. Oh, okay, I've got a special price on this, period and volume discount. And the price is here, you get a 10% discount if it's any time after April 16th, which it is, and it goes on forever. Is there anything else? You get volume stuff here? Yes, there is volume discounts as well. But he only gets a volume discount at 5 and 10, which we're only doing 1, so that doesn't apply. This applies, however. It's $540. Now, the question to myself would be, well, is that the right final price? I can't be sure until I look farther. Now, you could, once you get used to it, you could work backwards, probably. You just look at this one first, because that's the one that applies most, but I'm kind of working through the hierarchy to show you what overrides what. So it was 600. With the period and volume discounts, we see that it should be 540 for him, for that company. Now, if we look at discount groups, is there anything for Norm Thompson with respect to that item? I see I've got PCs discounted at 15% for him. And this is a PC item. If I were to look at the item, it's part of that group. So, in fact, he should get now 600 minus 15%. But that is not what he's getting. He's getting way higher. So the last thing I would look at is special prices for business partners. If I look there, right here, that's the price that I'm seeing on my sales order, and that is wrong. And I'm wondering myself, why on earth is that wrong? And what I see is, Norm is price list A, yet I'm calculating his price here from price list B. I made a mistake. And I'm getting a 10% price list off of price list B, which is double the base instead of 1.5 times the base. So this is my problem. If I get rid of that, row update, and now I'll just add the same item again. $510. That's correct. So, those are the scenarios. So, caveats. I mentioned this already, but if you set up special prices for business partners and you copied all your business partners, any new business partners will not get those prices. You have to add them. And so I recommend have a standardized procedure for doing that, for creating those business partners, and include looking at those special prices. You can also have a formatted search. So if you don't set up special prices on the business partner, you could also sort of use that idea where you have a special table and you check that and always apply that, even if you've added new business partners. So you could just say, what's the price? That is a possibility. So if you need something else, something more complex, formatted searches are an option. A lot of our customers do special things in special situations, and formatted searches are often a good way to handle that. And if you need something more complex, you can use B1UP or Core Suite, whichever you have, if you have either of those. So I showed you a bit about the price list management tools. You can copy special prices to selection criteria. We're running out of time, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But there are free tools that are available to use. The update special prices globally lets you selectively delete special prices as well. It's likely handy. And update parent item prices globally. I recommend certainly that you would play with these, and definitely not on production. Do it on a test system. Even if anytime you're going to make a broad sort of sweeping changes, definitely test. And ideally, make a backup as well. A good idea, in case something goes terribly wrong. So, best practices. Number one, understand the price selection hierarchy. Once you understand that, things make sense. Develop a special prices management strategy. So look at the options available to you in B1. There are some powerful things you can do. And think about the kinds of pricing you want to do and figure out, okay, well, this is what I want to do. These are sort of the right tools to use in combination. And stick with those. Keep it simple. Apply your price changes at the level easiest to manage. So make sure you're not setting a price that applies to most companies, but for this one company, you have to do a special thing like that. It gets a little complicated, but up to you how you want to manage those things. Document your standard methods so that they're followed in creating business partners. And if I want to do this kind of thing, this is what I do. And so it's reliable. You know how it's going to work. Again, procedures. Make sure you include adding special prices if you're using business partner special prices. Use formatted searches. I already said it. Test changes and database. Okay. So something I wanted to show is updating prices manually can be tedious. And so you might want to be able to do that on a broad basis. I want to update my entire price list. I don't want to have to go in, and I don't want to have to type them in manually. I do this special thing on a spreadsheet where I calculate all these cells, and now I want to put them in. Business One has a tool for doing that. It's not specifically for importing price lists, but it is a tool that lets you do data import of any kind. But it's called the Data Transfer Workbench, and you would find it under your SAP folder, Data Migration, Data Transfer Workbench. Okay. This is not a tool you want to give to ordinary users. This is a tool you want to give to and have a specific person deal with. Once you know how to do it, it's quite straightforward, and it just you go, I'm going to do this step, and bang, it works. So what it expects is information in a comma CSV file, comma separated values file. This is what it can look like. These header items are inconsequential. They have to be there, but once you have it set up, you don't care. They just need to be there. Now, I'm going to update prices in price list A. I just want to show you price lists. Okay. Or sorry, I'm going to update my base. What am I saying? Okay. So right now the unit price in the base is 400. Switch back to here. Let's change them to 420. And you can see, let's show these both. Okay, so for the A's, there's a 1, 2, 3. I've got 400, 200, 300. I'm going to change to 420, 220, and 320. Right? Save that. Save it back to CSV. Okay. So I just wanted to show you what they were and what I intend them to become. Now we say import. And I'm not saying this is intuitive. It's just a tool available once you know how to do it. So, I'm sorry, maybe too quick. Once you know how to do it, it's just, okay, I'm going to select master data, add, and update. It is an inventory item master data, and it's price list cell and deal with. Here's where you actually choose your file. And next, and next. And you can tell it, I want to stop if there's errors, or back it out, things like that. So I want to cancel the import and roll it back if there are errors. I want it to be perfect. Okay, here's where it's saying this is what you've decided to do. Import, successfully processed 3 out of 3. You can imagine if you've got hundreds, this would be quite a time saver. Now if we go back in here and I look at base, I can see 420, 220, 320. Okay? So it's the program itself is finicky, so you probably want a little help on it, but the time savings is dramatic. If you're going in right now and you're manual updating. We have one customer, actually what we do is they like to do sort of a yearly update of their price list. And so what they do is they go to their vendors and they take their vendor price list and they run a report, export it out of the system into exactly this format, and then they do one for one vendor, one for another, one for another. They send them off to the vendors. The vendors update these prices, and then they simply import them back in, and it works very nicely for them. So, so that is one strategy. Okay, I believe that is everything I want to talk about on Pricelists. Okay, do we want to? Okay, how much time we got left? I'm not sure. So this is about how to make your particular workspace a little more efficient for yourself. There are a lot of screens in Business One, and you probably don't use them all. So you can hide menu items you don't use, for one thing. So let's get rid of all this stuff. A lot of you are probably familiar with this little button here that lets you hide and show different columns on your screens. You can also use it to hide and show the modules. So if there's nothing showing on the screen, you click this. Now you have access to all these items. Of course, I'm not positive that if you're not a manager, maybe if you're not a manager, you can't do this. But anyway, if you're not interested in purchasing, you can unclick that, and everything, purchasing and everything under it goes. Or in inventory, well, I never use pick and pack, or I never use pick lists. I'll click update. Now you can see my purchasing is gone. Okay. So that's simply by using this button up here when there are no other screens open. On the back, I have to go back down there, but you can see my purchasing shows back up again. Okay, so that's one thing. Next, okay, shortcut keys. You can set up shortcut keys. So if I'm bringing up sales orders all the time, and I hate having to navigate in here, and it's annoying, I can set up a function key, F2, 3, 4, whatever. And the way you would do that is you go to Tools, you go My Shortcuts, Customize. This gives you all of your modules and then all of the, it's called windows or screens underneath that module. So I want to go into sales, and it's sales orders that I care about. So it's saying, here's the button you want to allocate sales orders to. You can choose anywhere from F2 to F12. You can't use F1 because that's your default help key, and they don't want to let you override that. So I want to allocate sales order to F2. Okay. And now if we go up here, I'll just show you shortcuts. Now this is enabled, and it tells you that sales order is F2. If you're not sure, if you're on someone else's machine or whatever, how's it set up? There you go. But anyway, I'm going to hit F2. Boom, sales order comes up. So that's a big time saver. If there's 4 or 5 or even just one screen to use all the time, I would definitely do that. Reorganize your screens to suit your work by using My Menu. So My Menu. Now, if you're using dashboards, you won't have My Menu, or cockpit, I should say. My Menu is over here. But the way My Menu works, for anything you want to, again, it's a way to limit what screens you use on a daily basis, so and make them quickly accessible. So I use sales orders all the time. So what I do is I bring up sales orders, have it on my screen, and make it the active one. Then you'll see that if you go to My Menu, you can add to My Menu. If you don't have a screen open, you can't add anything. So if this is closed, and I go to Tools, My Menu, there's nothing there to add. You can't add. You can organize what you already have, but you can't add anything. So that's the secret. You open it, Tools, add to My Menu, and ask you, well, do you want it at the top level? Do you want it under Forms, Reports, Queries, Links? I want it under Forms. Actually, or I could create a new one, whatever. Okay, that makes it under there. I can move them around too. But I'm going to put it under Forms. Okay. Now if I go to My Menu, and I go Forms, I've got my blah folder. Oh, sorry, I named it as blah accidentally, but you get the idea. Here's my blah folder that I created. Here's the sales order screen. You can even give it a different name if you like. So, and then you can organize them a little differently. So I can make this a level 1 folder. So now blah is at the top level. think I can move this to a different, I can move this to a different folder if I want. We've got the links, update, okay, you do all kinds of things. Now it's under links. So everyone works in their own way using Business One because they have all different responsibilities. Here's another way that they can use to organize their work. The trick is bring up the screen you're working on and then go Tools, My Menu, Edit, and then you can organize after that. The last thing is launch external programs by using the Launch Application button. I'm not sure how useful this is going to be to most people, but I'll show it anyway. And the reason I say what I just said is because you've got the ability to launch things from down here and you get quick launch. But Business One also has this, which lets you launch anything you like. So you click that, and what you do is you say, application name is calculator, and if you know where the calculator is located, which I've probably forgotten, but let's pick anything. Rats. Where would I find that? Let me find just anything in Adobe Reader. Meeting maker. There we go. Okay. Click add, and now screwed that up. But yeah, when you say now, if I bring this up, I can just double click on what I want, and it brings it up. You may have a number of applications that you like to use when at the same time as you're in Business One. And that's one way to access them quickly. Okay. That is everything I have. Again, for specific questions, please submit to me, dstebner@coastalrange.ca, or simply reply or use the email address located in the invitation to this webinar.